The World Inequality Report 2026 was released. After analyzing data from over 200 researchers across the globe, the general result is fairly clear. Inequalities continues at a very extreme level throughout the world. The world's top 10% richest individuals own three quarters of everything there is to own on planet Earth, while the bottom 50%, that is 4 billion individuals, own just 2% of the total. These wealth inequalities are extreme within countries as well. Typically, the bottom 50% owns less than 5% of national wealth, even in major economies like the United States or Brazil. The concentration of wealth creates massive disparities in opportunity. In Sub-Saharan Africa, children on average have access to just 200 euros of public spending per year. Contrast that with the global north, Europe and North America, where spending is over 900,000 euros per child. That is 45 times more. This is a situation of extreme inequality that locks in disadvantages before a child even enters the workforce. But inequality isn't just about money. It is about who pays the price for our changing planet. The richest 10% in this world account for 47% of global emissions associated with their consumption. But if we look at the ownership of the private capital, the factories and assets they control, that share jumps to 77%. Meanwhile, for the poorer 4 billion people in this world, this share is at only 3%. This data proves that the climate crisis is inseparable from the concentration of wealth. We also see deep divides in how labor is valued. The data shows that women actually works more hours than men globally, 53 hours a week versus 43 when unpaid domestic labor is counted. Yet, because this work is invisible to the economy, women capture just 28% of global labor income. So, how is this inequality sustained? A major factor is our broken tax systems. The countries like the US, France, and the Netherlands, the ultra rich actually pay proportionately less than the rest of the population. This regressive pattern deprives society of massive resources that could be spent on education, health, and climate adaptation. Furthermore, the international financial system itself is rigid. Wealthy nations enjoy an inordinate privilege, borrowing cheaply and investing at high returns, effectively draining resources from the global south. However, the report concludes with a crucial message. Inequality is not a law of nature, it is a political choice. It can be corrected. So, how should the world proceed? First, we can implement a global wealth tax. A modest 2% tax on centi-millionaires could raise over 500 billion annually. Second, we need to pursue the movement toward equality that started in the 20th century, strengthening social security, public services, and progressive taxation. But now, in the 21st century, we must do this at a global level. This means sharing fiscal resources from large multinationals and billionaires so that the government in the global south get a fair share of collective resources. This is how we pay for basic education, energy infrastructure, and sustainable development for everyone, not just for the few. The choice made in the coming years will decide whether we continue down a path of extreme concentration or move towards shared prosperity. Inequality is a choice, and that means it can be changed. If you believe this conversation matters, share this video because inequality affects all of us, whether we see it or not.